but we don't control any of the means of production. Even in underground hip hop, we throw out stuff out, we make things, we can do things, but we're still subject to Bandcamp and their fees and the way that they rob the artist. And yet, there's such a robbery of the underground independent artists that Bandcamp seems like a gold mine. You have to use it. You see what I'm saying? And yet many artists complain. But compared to what? Then if you want vinyl, we don't own any factories of vinyl. We don't own any of those factories. We don't own any of those means of production. You know what I mean? And if we really got into it deeply, hip-hop became something that we weren't going to own, as an example, because the means of production are quickly owned by people. So he said, no, we sample music and then we rap on it. And as an MC, you just write it. But we know that the means of production now need the recording equipment. They need the booth. They need the tables. They need the mixers. They need the samplers. And samplers don't come cheap. Like any kid in the corner is going, you know what, I'm going to make beats. I'm going to go get me a sampler. Right? You don't just go in there and say, listen.
Now it's a little easier.
Right? Now it's a little easier. You know what I'm saying? Easier. But in those times, though, once it started to get used in the 90s, then that price skyrocketed. So, right, in the mid-90s, right, the turntables were the good turntables, not wobbly ones where you could just play stuff, but ones you could really scratch. Right? Techniques, those are running for $700 in the 90s. But you also need mixers, amplifiers, speakers, right? You need records. You need to buy crates, right? So it became something that cost. So even back then, who had the money to have all that? It was always the illegal component. I never went to one home studio in the 90s that wasn't built off illegal funds. Not one. Unless the only one guy I went to, but he was a white kid. He's a white kid, and he had every keyboard I've ever seen.
Yeah, his parents funded.
Right, yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
If Mecca did this.